Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And the British and Irish Lions have taken first blood. They win the first test 22 points to 17 after a terrific second half effort. Completely blew the Springboks away. A very, very good test match though. Actually an epic test match. And I think if nothing else, before you sort of break the game down, we are going to in for a terrific next couple of tests. I mean, the intensity today, the margins that was decided that this game was decided on was absolutely superb. A really, really good first test and a really, really enjoyable affair. For the Springboks, well, now they've been asked to do, I mean, if it wasn't a bigger task, now it gets even bigger. They will have to go back-to-back victories if they want to try and claim the series. For the British and Irish Lions, they are 80 minutes away from potentially winning the series down here. A historic victory for them after they were lost in 2009. But yeah, before we break the game down, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And the first half was also the one-way traffic, really. With the Springboks, they had more possession. We saw Pollard get his first penalty in the 14th minute. After a late shot on Tom Curry on Faf de Klerk, he then doubled the points in the 17th minute. After I think it was Tom Curry not rolling away. Dan Biggar then got one back in the 19th minute. But before Andre Pollard returned with two more penalties in the 25th and 30th minute. Dan Biggar then missed a penalty in the 35th minute. And then Elliot Daly missed a penalty in the 38th minute. So the halftime score was 12 points to 3. And as I said, I think you must commend the Springboks because the first half, they were doing everything right. They were winning the big collisions. They were winning penalties in the half. And there was a little bit of luck involved. I mean, something like Robbie Henshaw had a very good breakdown on the right-hand side. And literally, as he was trying to find somebody inside him, he just sort of lost control of the ball forward. The two missed kicks meant that it was a much bigger margin than it probably could have been. But the Springboks, I think, would have been very impressed. What I was very impressed in the first half is that front row. Trevor Nyakani, Oxenshire, I thought were immense. And Bongi Manambi, very, very impressive stuff there from them in the first half. In the second half, we put on an all-new front row. And to be honest, I don't think it really had the desired effect. We put on Malcolm Marx, Francois Herb, Stephen Kitsov, hoping that they would sort of be able to turn the tides and be able to start winning scrum penalties. Well, they didn't win a single scrum penalty. In fact, they actually conceded a scrum penalty. And the Lions, early in the second half, were refusing to take the points, kicking to the corner, and it did pay off as Luke Cowan-Dickey went over in the 43rd minute on the back of a terrific rolling maul. Dan Biggar adding the extras there. Faf de Klerk then hit back though in the 49th minute after a bit of a confusion. Some really, really good work there from Pete Steph du Toit. After a horrible pass behind the line from Andre Pollard, Pete Steph du Toit turned the Lions, gave it to Marcus Lomapimpi and Salome, who then kicked ahead. Pete Steph du Toit then chased it down really well, missed out on it, was picked up by Marcus Lomapimpi, who was brilliantly defended by Stuart Hogg, but the ball then falling back in the hands of Faf de Klerk, who then dotted it down. Andre Pollard missing that penalty, which was quite an important moment in the 50th minute. Dan Biggar, 52nd minute, then added extra 3 in the 55th minute. I mean, that was the problem, wasn't it? It was those back-to-back penalties, which suddenly went from being 17-10 to 17-16. The Alliance then offloaded their bench. Malcolm Vinapola, Ken Owens, and Hamish Watson came on. 62nd minute, Dan Biggar with a penalty. And in the 64th minute, I think probably the biggest controversial moment of the game was when Hamish Watson tip-tackled Willie Leroux, who then, and there was no sort of repercussion. I mean, it was a penalty, but that was it. And I think if you look at it, I've struggled to see why it wasn't a yellow card, because literally picked up both legs, passed the horizontal, and was driving him down. The only thing I think saved him was the fact that Willie Leroux already had an arm on the ground, so it wasn't like he was in the air being driven down. But that shouldn't change the facts that he lifted and passed the horizontal, and there was driving force going down, which is at least a yellow card. And then Andre Pollard missing that kick. That was also a big moment. So we left 5 points out there. The British and Irish Lions left 6. So, 6 for one, half a dozen for the other. But I think that penalty was quite a big moment because, at the time, 17-6, that penalty would put us into 20 points to 16, where a penalty wouldn't have been enough for them to win the game. And then Owen Farrell put the final nail in the coffin in the 77th minute with a penalty on the right-hand side of the field. If you look at the stats, this sort of shows you the swing in the game. At the end of the first half, South Africa had 57% of the possession, 43% possession for the British and Irish Lions. By the end of the second half, that had even up to 48-52 because the British and Irish Lions had 60% of the second half possession, as well as 64% of the territory. Just one try piece. 235 meters run by South Africa, 256 by the Lions. The Springboks beat 15 defenders, the Lions beat 19. There were 4 clean breaks from the box, 2 from the Lions. The gain line carries were much of a muchness. A lot more offloads from the Lions, a lot more passes from the Lions actually. 6 turnovers, 1 to 8. 40 kicks from hand from the box, 34. So Warren Gaxton, who predicted 40 kicks, was spot on. 34 there from the Lions. Tackle success rate got a lot better for the Boks because in the first half they were slipping a few tackles, but they were asked to make 128 tackles and they missed 19. The Lions were asked to make 108 tackles and missed 15. So the Springboks operated at 85% tackle success rate. The British and Irish Lions operated at 86%. Goal line kick success rate for the British and Irish Lions was 75%. For the Springboks, it was 67%. So Pollard, I think probably the penalty is the one that sort of burns most. Even the try, they weren't ridiculously hard opportunities. Elliot Daly's one had the accuracy and it fell just short. And Dan Bigger probably shouldn't have missed that first penalty. But ruck success rate was 95 and 96. Line success rate was decent for the Boks. Not as good as for the Lions. Scrums were pretty even until that there were two penalties later in the game where the British and Irish Lions suddenly started sort of getting the dominance, but just far too many penalties conceded by Springboks in the second half. And I think if you look at it, two things I think from the Boks. One is, unfortunately, it is a very one-dimensional game plan, and we were losing the kicking game, we were losing the aerial game, we couldn't compete in the air, and yet we still continue to kick ahead, we still continue to kick possession away. And it's difficult to be critical of a tactic and the game plan, which has won us a World Cup, but it did kind of show us that when it's not working, we don't really have a plan B. We never look to then sort of try and keep it in hand and try and sort of carry it up a bit more. So I think that aerial battle is what killed us. It really did. The Lions just peppered us under the high ball. They were winning penalties. They were winning, scrums. They were just winning all the aerial battles. We couldn't cope. Billy LaRue, Makazorba Pimpy, Cheslin Colby, even Monjay Pollard had a couple where he struggled. They all really did struggle under the high ball. Quacker Smith, was forced into some difficult situations as a result of us not being good under the high ball. So that was probably the major area that the Springboks need to clean up. And then the front row, I think, we didn't win one scrum penalty. Look, I think that there was one really harsh one that went against us in the first half, where Tom Curry was basically loading as an auxiliary prop up against Oxen Chair and lifted him up, which is nonsense, but they did miss the penalty, so that kind of felt like justice. But, I think my big grasp is probably no yellow card to Hamish Watson. I kind of struggle to understand where the interpretation of the law, where it went past the horizontal and there was rate forced down, how it's not a yellow card. But at the end of the day, it was just a great test. It was a really good test, and I think the Springboks will learn a lot from it. The British and Irish Lions, that's it's a big confidence booster, isn't it? Some very, very impressive second half performances. A lot of players that sort of pulled together that second half for the Lions. But let me know what you thought of the game down below. Smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We'll be live for player ratings a little bit, so come join us for them as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you guys soon.